Hi, welcome to Photoshop Lightroom TV episode 14. I'm your host Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk. Another week, another episode full of tutorials and tricks and tips. I want to start by thanking everyone who joined me on the event with Steve Kaplan last week here in London. It was a very good event, really enjoyed it. There were loads of really interesting things, and I'm actually going to share with you a tutorial based on what Steve showed us during the event. So once again, thank you very much to all who joined me on the event last week in London. Another news is that we're going to run a series of workshops on Lightroom, Adobe Photoshop Lightroom Masterclass for digital photographers. This will be a series of workshops that will run in central London. The first workshop second half of October, so in about 2, maybe 3 weeks time. Okay. I hope you join me. If you're anywhere in central London area, or if you're in London area, this is a great opportunity for you to take a course with me. This will be just a few hours, a couple of evenings, and instead of taking the whole day off and attending the course. What else? Tip of the week, as usual. I'm going to have a really nice tip of the week. But first, I'm going to start with a tutorial in Photoshop to show you how you can use layer styles to blend images together. We'll take 2 images of a landscape, one focused on the foreground, one focused on the sky, and we'll blend them together inside Photoshop. So let's have a look on this tutorial. So here I am inside the Photoshop, and I'm going to show you how we can blend 2 images together and get very quickly highlights or shadows in an image to show through one of the layers to reveal the layer below. I've got these 2 images here of a landscape. Okay. On this image I focused on the sky, I measured on the sky. On this image here I focused on the foreground. I'm going to blend them together. So the first thing I want to do is I want to move one image on top of another. So I'm going to click on this image with the move tool, drag it here into this image here. Now to make sure the image appears in the center, I'm going to hold the shift key before I release the mouse button. And the image appeared in the center of the document. So now I've got 2 these images here. Now they're not aligned because I didn't use a tripod. So this will be the next task here. First, I'm going to double click on the background layer to turn it into a regular layer. And I'll leave the name layer 0, just press OK. Next step will be to align them together. So I'm going to highlight both layers. And I'll use Edit, Auto Align Layers. I'll use the Auto feature. Just press OK. Now Photoshop will align both layers together. Now there are some shifts. That's okay, because I'm going to crop this image using the crop tool. First I'm going to click and drag over the whole image to get the aspect ratio, and I can see rule of thirds. This is a new feature in Photoshop CS5. In the previous versions you don't see it. And I'll be holding shift key to keep the proportions on the image. A bit one corner and a bit of this corner here as well. That looks okay. Good. So I'm just going to press enter to crop it. Now let's compare that. Looks good. Okay, now I'll be working on this layer 1, because what I want to do is on this layer here, I want to reveal the content from the layer below, this sky here, but just the sky. And I'm going to do it really quickly and easily. Now I could use some blend modes. For example, I could go here and change the blend mode of the layer to, let's see, multiply, which would bring the background, but also this part here. So that's not the way to go, not the blend modes at least. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to blend the layer. I'll double click on the layer to open layer style. Okay, this is the window here. And I'll use these sliders here, blend if. Very interesting feature here. You can use blend if sliders to blend shadows or the highlights of one layer to blend with the layer below. In this case, I want to reveal the content from the layer below. Now if I use the black slider and I start dragging it, the darkest areas in the image will appear from the layer below. Now, that's not what I'm looking for. So I'm going to use the white slider to reveal the sky from the image below. Now this is really amazing, and it shows through. Now still not perfect, because I can see the horizon doesn't look perfect. So I'm going, and if I move it further, some contour reveals here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it back a bit to about here. And I'm going to split this slider using the Alt key on Windows or Option key on a Mac. Okay, I can split it, still moves on the horizon, and looks really good in here. Very nice. And I'll just press OK. Good. That's the layer below. If I just hide this layer for a moment, there's the image below. There's the composite, the final composite in the image using the layer styles. So just to recapture what we did here, we use layer style by double clicking on the layer, the empty area of the layer, and we use the blend if area here. We'll be talking more about this blend if in the future episodes. For now, just this really nice trick here inside Photoshop. Okay. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial in Photoshop. As you know, it applies to any version of Photoshop. It's not just about CS5, even though I use Photoshop CS5 to show it. Okay, now I'm going to share with you another tutorial. This time I'm going to show you some tricks that I learned from Steve Kaplan. I also seen some more information about this technique online. This will be also Photoshop, this time Photoshop Extended, Photoshop CS5 Extended, because I'm going to show you some 3D stuff in Photoshop. Just a bit of 3D stuff using Photoshop Extended. As you know, Photoshop ships in two versions, Photoshop CS5 and Photoshop CS5 Extended. The extended version brings you the 3D and animations as well. So this will only apply to Photoshop CS5 Extended. Very nice tutorial, very nice tricks. And after that, I'll have the tip of the week. So I will see you back in a few minutes. I'm going to start by creating a new document. And I'm going to create a new document that's 800 by 600 pixels, resolution 72. I'll just press OK. Now I'm going to draw some shape in here. I'm going to use the pen tool. I actually showed this technique shown by Steve Kaplan last week on an event. He used, as far as I remember, he used some drawing tools. I'm going to use the pen tool. So I'm going to start here. I'm just going to draw half of the shape. So I'm going to start here. Then I'll go here. Oh, it's not straight. So I'll just go here, straight line. Looks good. I'll do a curve here, looks good. I'm not good at drawing. Okay, that should be not too bad. Now this bit here, not too bad. Okay, a bit more. Looks good. And this bit here. I'm going to close that here. Okay, now I'm going to load as a selection. So go to the buffs panel and I'll just drag it to this third icon from the left to load as a selection. Now I'm going to fill it using edit, fill, and go to 50% gray. I'm going to change it later on anyway. I'll just press OK. Good. Now that I filled it, I'll still need to have it as a selection. I'm just going to go here. Okay, it's a selection. Now I'll go to 3D, Wrap User, and Correct Selection. Because if you look in here, we can only use selections or paths or layer masks or text layers. I'm going to use Current Selection. This will open the Wrap User window. This is new to CS5. Now I can use the 3D tool to rotate it. Doesn't look like a chisel or like a vase. Well, at least not yet. Here's what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to rotate it using the X angle. I'm going to move this slider to the left. Now it starts changing, looks better, looks good. Okay, that looks not too bad. Okay. Interesting effect. Looks good. I'm actually going to bend it on one of the sides, not the center point, so now it looks more like what I'm looking for here. I'm also going to change the texture in here. I'm going to use materials. I've just got a couple of materials, but more materials can be downloaded from Adobe website. I'm going to show you a link in just a moment. For the sides, I'm going to use one of these materials that ship with Photoshop. Maybe this one. Just click on it to have a look on it. Looks not too bad. Just double click on it to accept it. And I can see the material is being applied to the whole 3D object. Now, I'm not happy with the quality of the size in here. This is because I'm using the draft quality, which renders the 3D content fast, but not that precise. So I'm going to change it to better. This will soften the edges. Now I'll change it to best. It should be nice and soft. This looks good. I got some hole in here. I'm going to remove that by changing the depth. Just drag it down to 0. Okay, and it's gone. So now we can fill it with some drink here. That looks nice. Okay, good. Now we got some lights in here. I'm going to change these lights by going to here, lights, and I'm actually going to use CAD optimized lights. Now this looks nice, more interesting. Okay, it looks good. And I'm also going to change the render, the view here. Oh, sorry, render settings. There's a number of options here, for example, paint mask or the line illustration. What I'm going to use here will be the, let's see, shaded illustration. That's the one I was looking for. Looks really nice, like an Illustrator graphic. It's just inside Photoshop. There's a shadow, there's a texture in here. Okay, I think it looks good. So I'm going to press OK to accept this setting. And now, hello, welcome back again. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as well. Now this week's tip of the week. Now this time I'll have a photography tip for you for the tip of the week. If you shoot images outdoor, let's say a landscape, and there's a vast range of contrast between the sky and the foreground, the background, why not shoot a series of images focusing on different parts of the image, metering on the sky, on the foreground, on the background, and why not put it all together inside Photoshop? Photoshop has a couple of amazing features really. One of them would be merge to HDR, or merge to HDR Pro now with Photoshop CS5, and I showed some tutorials on the previous episodes on it. Or you can also use the auto merge feature in Photoshop as well. I showed this one on previous episodes as well, and this creates a really nice images. So really nice. I'll have one more for you, tip of the week. This time this will be also in photography. If you shoot videos on your digital SLR, that's what I do, I use it to shoot video, you have a number of settings. So you can shoot high definition video, and there will be different frame rates. Remember, the higher the frame rate, the smoother the animation. So it's always to shoot on a higher frame rate. One thing you need to bear in mind when you shoot videos on most digital SLR cameras, you need to focus manually. I'm afraid. You can focus first. So before you start shooting video, you can use the autofocus on your camera to focus, and then when you start recording, you need to focus manually, I'm afraid, but you can do it really easily if you have a big screen at the back of your camera. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk, host. I hope you enjoyed Photoshop Lightroom TV. Remember our web address, PhotoshopLightroomTV.com, and I will see you next week for some more exciting Photoshop and Lightroom tricks and tips as well. See you next week. Bye bye.